My name is Justin F., and I'm the CEO and founder of SpaceTogether. SpaceTogether is an online marketplace that empowers churches, schools, and businesses to monetize and rent the underutilized parts of their buildings, including commercial kitchens, gymnasiums, meeting spaces, and parking lots. SpaceTogether matches underutilized spaces to the needs of communities based on functionality, availability, budget, and location. So how did we get into this? My wife and I pastored a church, and we needed space. We had been renting from one of my mentors for the previous 6 years. We had kind of outgrown the ability to do that, so he came to me and he said, "You have 3 months to get out of my building." We were in Colorado Springs, which had a crazy high commercial real estate market at the time. And on top of that, I'd already gone through 2 building projects with my mentor, so I knew that it was going to be a bunch of B and C class real estate and a bunch of terrible parts of town. It was going to be a huge personally guaranteed lease. It was going to be remodeling a building that probably wasn't designed for what we were trying to do. And then after all of that, I had been renting from him for 6 years, so I knew that I did not need my own building. And so, like a good millennial, I pull out my preaching iPad. I don't even own a laptop at the time, and I'm 35 pages deep trying to find the commercial Airbnb, and I couldn't find it. I found a lot of ways to share an office or a one-time event center, but there was no way for me to plant roots with another organization in my town and grow my organization. So we had to go the traditional route, and it was exactly what I thought it was going to be. It was a bunch of realtors that laughed at us, we got hung up on. We saw a bunch of B and C class real estate that was not designed for what we were trying to do in terrible parts of town. Once we finally found a building that we thought we could make work, we had to sign a huge personally guaranteed lease. We had to raise a ton of money to remodel the building with a bunch of people that had absolutely no idea how to remodel the building. And after we had gone through all of the fundraising and leases and buildings and everything else, we were never there. 2 services, band practice, maybe youth group, and the rest of the time this building that was 90% of my budget and all of my stress was a really expensive storage unit. And that's when we said there has got to be somebody out there in our community that's just like us, that just needs a few hours a week. I only needed 8 hours a week to run my entire organization. So again, I pull out the old iPad and I'm again 35 pages deep trying to find the commercial Airbnb, and again I couldn't find it. So we took really good pictures of our space and we posted it to the only platform that would allow us to do so at the time, which was Craigslist. And I'm sure as I'm saying that, all the sketchy bells are going off in your head. And they should, because Craigslist is massively sketchy. However, within 3 months, we had 65% of our overhead covered by people using our facility when we weren't there. And that's when we started realizing, again, somebody has got to be doing this in some form. So we knew that the church market had this issue, but we were certain that other verticals had a similar issue. And so we interviewed 1,000 people across the nation in the fitness industry, the culinary space, medical fields, charter schools, and we found that 85% of everybody that we spoke to was either already sharing space or they wanted to if they were freaked out by the people on Craigslist. This was really the first time that we started to see that in the same way that co-working spaces and shared desk sites have revolutionized everything for remote teams and startup teams and freelancers. However, there are thousands of chefs and coaches and instructors and pastors of all kinds that have the exact same need. They just have no need of a desk. So seeing the demand in the marketplace and not seeing the platform that met those needs, we started SpaceTogether. SpaceTogether is an online marketplace like the commercial Airbnb, where we take the availability, amenities, and location of a facility, then we find out all the possible functionality that that facility has to offer, and then we offer that facility to the community around them. Our team is made up of industry rainmakers, developers, managers, marketing experts, designers, and a whole team of people ready to take this to the next level. We also have a tremendous team of advisors that range from retired lieutenant colonels to unicorn CTOs, IP attorneys, CEOs that have been acquired, CEOs that have scaled. And these folks have not only come in and given us their expertise and their time, but they've also invested their capital with us to take SpaceTogether to the next level. IBIS, a statistical analysis organization that's been around since the 1940s, states that there are over 2.3 million commercial businesses that have commercial space in the U.S. Our users are not just posting their building. They're posting all the functional space inside of the building. They're posting up to 3 to 6 times what their actual space is. All of these individual parts of their building have multiple available time slots for rent. Our average is $1,400 per month, around $20,000 per year for each individual time slot, which helps us reach our TAM of $13.6 billion. We now have all the data and demand to show that there are several other verticals that have the exact same need. However, we have a hyper-focus on the church industry. We've seen that there are over 380,000 churches in the U.S., And 35% of these facilities have full gymnasiums, 65% of them have commercial kitchens. They all have fully up-to-code childcare facilities. They all have offices, and they all have at least one auditorium that sit in the perfect spots, the prime location in all of our cities, and they go underused the absolute majority of the time. With 5% penetration in the church market alone, we can see an ARR of over $46 million. How do we do this? We partner with large organizations that manage or serve hundreds, if not thousands, of facilities. We then train all of their members on how to market and present their space, as well as how to manage renters. From there, they begin to market their facility to the community around them. We engage this community by adding renters that are looking for suitable, flexible buildings to start or sustain their organization. These renters then apply for the spaces that match their budget and location requirements. From there, if everything's a fit, SpaceTogether takes care of all the processes in the middle. So license agreement, payment processing, vetting, communication, and all the other services that make sharing space both simple and safe. It turns out that a lot of people did have the same need that we did. And since we started, we've been able to grow to have properties in over 30 states. We have a cumulative user base of over 50,000 users. Providers on our platform have received over $92 million in rental applications with a 32% acceptance rate historically. We've also signed 4 national enterprise accounts that just have $10.6 million sitting there waiting for us to onboard their customers. These folks have already paid us to onboard their customers, train them, and get their spaces activated in communities. So why now? With the adoption of marketplace technology, we share everything. We share our houses, we share our cars, we share our sporting goods. We have to be able to share our commercial buildings. And on top of that, entrepreneurs are looking for a collaborative environment where they share in the cost and the utility of the space that they work with. That, combined with the fact that our target market has been failing financially over the past 30 years, with complete consistency, shows that it is the time to acquire these spaces and begin getting them reactivated into our communities to provide impact. So how do we make money? Our enterprise clients pay us in between $15,000 to $25,000 per year. Then each of their members pay us $500 to go through our training protocols and $250 per year to host their space on SpaceTogether. We then provide boosted advertising for $65 per month per posting, and we get 10% of all of the transaction volume and payments processed through the platform. We also have a lot of organic subscribers that sign. When they do, they have the exact same utility of all of our enterprise customers. However, they only pay $150 per month to have that. So we do have some competitors in the space. They really focus much more on niches and specific use cases. For example, Craigslist is a way that you can take pictures of your space and post it into your community. However, it is massively sketchy. And our providers are typically willing to pay for a better vet of a prospective renter. Liquid Space is one of the best in the game. If you have a ton of office space that is just in excess, they will help you find teams to come and rent those offices. However, they're much more homogeneous in supply. Our users are looking for more built-out facilities and recurring use. PeerSpace has really set themselves apart as a marketplace for private events. If you're doing a private event, a quinceañera, some sort of big party, they will help you find a tremendous space in your community. However, our users are looking for much more like 14 to 24-month commitments where they have the same space over the span of 18 months to 2 years. ChurchSpace is another competitor that's just emerged into the market. They're a lot smaller. They're based in Atlanta. They have a hyper-focus on the church industry as well as more of an emphasis on events. And we are focused on the church industry, but again, it's because of the massive diversification of use and the constant availability that their spaces have. Also, by acquiring these churches, we acquire all of our other industry verticals within them and can test that data and then begin to market to our other clients. In 2020, with just the massive effect of the pandemic hitting us, our users weren't even able to get into their facilities, much less share them with anybody else. And we were still able to produce $27,000 and sign our first national account. In 2021, with still seeing the massive effects of the COVID pandemic and a lot of our users still unable to get into their buildings, we were able to almost double revenue that year with $27,000. Last year, with increased enterprise sales and the launch of our training protocols, we had almost 300% increase with $196,000. By continuing to onboard the customers that we currently have and launching our outbound training, we project that we're on pace to do $1.5 million within the next 12 months and continue that pace to $5 million in ARR by 2024. We are raising our seed round of $800,000 and on a safe note with a $7 million valuation cap. And in the next 24 months, we're going to upgrade all of our systems to better and more quickly onboard our enterprise clients We're also going to implement and launch our non-circumvention protocols. We're going to implement our host insurance. We're going to develop and launch our mobile app, as well as continue all the protocols and getting the new users and new verticals onto our platform. Again, thank you so much for the opportunity to come and present to you guys. Thank you for the ecosystem. Thank you for all that you're building. It's been a pleasure. Thank you so much. How are you guys?
I'm great. How are you?
Good.
You have a voice like mine. You like to. That was a lot of passion when you gave your presentation.
Yeah,
it was great. It was good. It was good.
Thank you.
Justin, you feeling good?
Yeah, feel good.
You did a great job.
Thank you.
That was really, really intriguing. I sat there and I thought there's probably a lot of uses for the service that you offer, the tool that you offer. Why churches? And I know you went into that a little bit, but what does that expansion look like?
Absolutely, yeah. So, it all got started with churches because I was a pastor. But in full transparency, when we started really scaling, churches were horrible to work with. And, it's like a kind of a bad thing to say. Prior to the pandemic, pastors were just not great to work with. And it was like gyms and dance studios and pretty much any other of our other verticals. Like, they were like, wait a minute, I can make money with this building that I'm paying for all the time. It was a no-brainer. And then I think it really is because pastors do kind of idolize their buildings. It's the church, So it caused like this just weird dynamic. And so we actually almost went completely away from working with churches and really focused on gyms and studios. However, during the pandemic, our users couldn't get into their buildings, much less share them with anybody. And so we started looking at, what industry vertical could we hyper-focus on, develop a SaaS model, and then what would be the biggest impact, like bang for our buck. And the truth is that as far as diversification of use, if a gym signs up on my platform, there's a massive amount of different industries that can use a taekwondo gym or a dance studio. If you have mats, a sound system, and mirrors, that's a lot of the amenities that a lot of fitness industries need, but it's going to be industry stagnant for the most part. There's not a lot of people that are going to rent the back office of the gym, right? Same thing in the culinary space. If you have a commercial kitchen, there is a massive amount of diversification of usage you do, but it's going to be somewhat industry stagnant. But again, these churches, 35% of them have full gymnasiums, 65% of them have commercial kitchens, they all have fully coach child care facilities, they all have office complexes at some points, and they all have at least one auditorium, and that also is combined with the fact that they're always empty. Even the ones that are really, really operating and they have stuff going on every day or every week.
They all have downtime.
Exactly. The auditorium is not being used, the gym is certainly not being used, the kitchen is not being used, and so we knew a lot of that. And so the thought process really was, signing these guys up one by one, that's great. But if I can sign a network of 2,000 churches, well, then that's times 8 for us. So growing towards critical mass, and then also they're always built in the center of town. They're built in the perfect situation. And so and the other side of this is that obviously by opening your facility, you're giving impact, giving an opportunity to somebody else in your community, which they should be designed to do to begin with. And so that was really where a lot of that logic went into it.
And our religious facilities are staples in our communities, right?
Yes.
So I imagine that you're helping a lot of them to continue operation after COVID, creating new revenue sources for entities that are really important to community.
Absolutely, yeah. And I don't know, and this, I'm a pastor, church planner, did this for 14 years, so in no way am I trying to speak ill in any way, but I'm not sure that our churches have really any more impact than our dance studios do, or that our taekwondo studios do, or all of these different organizations that really try to impact their community. And they have that community focus, or your favorite diner. But you're absolutely right. They do align with this really central, hey, we're here and exist to serve this community. And so absolutely. So being able to come alongside any organization that wants to impact their community through the medium of opening their space is who we want to serve.
So what was your most memorable, your first commercial bill outside of the church? Who did you get next to sign up on this new? It's a new platform. It's a genius idea. I was thinking when you were talking, I go, gosh, there's so many churches I've driven by Monday through Friday, or Monday through Thursday even, that are vacant.
Yeah.
So outside, most people get that. I get that. How did you transfer that over to a commercial business? And what was your first commercial business you got linked into?
So the first one would have had to been, I was an MMA fighter. I fought and did all the crazy cage fighting nonsense in my early 20s. So I knew that network as well.
Wait, hold on a second. The pastor that does cage fighting. This is great. This is even better interview than I thought it was going to be.
There's photos, people in Israel, and have
I'm going to be real nice to you. I don't want to be thrown down in the back here.
So I knew that gyms had a similar issue, but in the very beginning of SpaceTogether, we didn't have any money, so I was taking my preaching iPad that I already mentioned once, I was going and knocking on people's doors like, hey, would you like to share your building? And so I started with churches, and then I went directly into MMA gyms. And, just like, hey, would you guys like to share this space if you're not using it? I knew they were empty during the day. They have this massive amount of equipment and utility. And so that was the first one. However, we have 4 enterprise clients. 3 of them are national church denominations or networks. But our actual largest enterprise client is a series of dance studios. There's 14,000 dance studios across the nation. And I was actually pitching at another accelerator. And while I was up doing that, this guy comes up and he's like, hey, look, man, I've got 14,000 dance studios and combat gyms that are in my system. And I can teach them how to have better classes. I can teach them how to get better clients and do all the things. What I can't do is that their buildings sit empty from 6 in the morning till 4 in the afternoon every day, and then all day on the weekends. And they have to have these buildings to do what they do, but they just don't use them for more than 48 hours a day. And so he was able to come along and sign an enterprise contract with me and just add it into the offering of what he does and activate the spaces in their communities.
So I'm curious, who uses a combat gym at 7 a.m.?
So Fit Body Boot Camp, yoga, some personal trainers. A lot of times, like if you're a personal trainer inside of like a big box gym, you do a lot of your own work. Like you got to recruit a lot of these guys, you have to show up and do the training, and then you usually take home like 40% of whatever they pay for those training sessions. So if you're a personal trainer that's been working at a gym, what is your next option? You have clientele, you're good at what you do, but where are you going to go? Are you going to sign a huge personally guaranteed lease on a building as you're growing your client base and then take out a loan to outfit the entire thing or borrow money from everybody you know? Whenever there are gyms all over your city that are not open at that time, and you can walk in, turnkey, do all of your sessions, and so, yeah.
So you're really focused, the business model, if I understand correctly, is on the long-term customer. It's not the one night, one day type rental. It's more, I need it for a year or 6 months.
Yeah, our average license agreement is $19,550 over 14 months. And that usually averages out to 8 hours a week.
You mentioned that being one of your differentiators from competitors. We know that there's a lot of apps and programs that allow for empty space rental, but this is where we're seeing the difference here.
Yeah, absolutely. We tell people we're kind of like Match.com for commercial real estate, right? So it's not something that's going to be super fast. It's going to be something that's you're looking for a relationship with somebody for 2 years. So you're going to want to know what they're doing. Like, what is your business about? What are you actually trying to accomplish in our community? What do you care about? And so we try to really match the two based on that functionality and purpose.
So your competitors are Tinder? Or?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm trying to get it all here.
Hopefully,
pastor, cage fighter, and matchmaker. So that is. So where do you see what's the future? Where do you see? Obviously, a lot of cool things. Where do you see it from your as the founder and owner, and where do you see it going?
I was listening to a really great talk by Jeff Bezos probably about 2 years ago, and it helped me rethink how I thought about a lot of this. And he said that a lot of the companies that he saw coming up were all trying to address what people were going to want in the next 5 to 10 years. And he's like, what I really want is somebody to come in and say that I know for the next 10 years people are going to want these parts of my service. He's like, I know that people are always going to want more selection, they're always going to want it faster, they're always going to want to pay less. I think that it's really the same for us. We need more spaces to be activated in our communities so we have more selection. And then, of course, you're not signing these huge personally guaranteed leases. You're not taking out a huge loan to outfit the building. So we want to provide commercial real estate to anybody that's trying to start or sustain their organization, make that accessible to people that for generations have not been able to access the type of facilities that they actually need.
Is there a screening process? I mean,
yeah,
there is.
Yeah, we have a pretty extensive vetting process on the front end.
So I won't go around space. So it's pretty extensive, though. On both sides?
Yes, on both sides. And it's not absolutely crazy, but we're going to make sure that you are who you say you are, that you're doing what you actually say you're going to do, and that you have the money to pay your bills.
Got it.
Typically.
This is fantastic.
It is.
So I'm hearing from all these phenomenal founders, and I'm just thinking of all the partnerships that are possible here. I'm thinking one of them might be that cage fighting could hold Michael down so you can put some aluminum. I'm just, trying to get creative.
Change me. I'm a big bionic with glasses.
Yeah,
have a place to go.
There's
There we go.
so many possibilities.
There are.
Your
I'm
AI,
worried about you.
Your AI,
My AI.
yellow. Yes, call you.
I'll move around for a while.
This is great. So I think, should we ask the question that we've kind of passed on to other?
You started that question. That was a great question. So go ahead. No, you got to bring it forward.
What are these angels? What should they be talking about right now upstairs as they're making this decision? What should they be taking away?
You know, COVID and the following year, I mean, 2021 and 2020 were catastrophic for us. I mean, you know, we're a commercial real estate sharing company. People couldn't get out of their houses, much less into their buildings. And then when they did get into their buildings, nobody wanted to invite strangers to come in and operate inside of their facilities. And so, man, you know, my co-founder left the company, a lot of my staff left the company. We saw this massive growth streak that we had been on for almost a year, basically just burn to the ground. And in the past year, we've still been able to sign national chains that have thousands of facilities that are literally just sitting there saying, onboard our clients. And so this next round for us is not even really going and finding new clients as much as it is onboarding and serving these thousands that we've already acquired.
I would think the work at home to go back to office only benefits you as companies like to downscale and maybe have an office available, but they don't want long-term commitments and they don't want the big space. Do you see that as being true, where that's really a great opportunity for you to expand?
Absolutely. And I mean, entrepreneurs now, I mean, who wants to go get your own building that you're going to be in for maybe 8 hours a day? You pay for it all the time. So entrepreneurs want to share in the cost and the utility of the buildings that they're using. That's why co-working spaces have been such a fantastic hit for those that it actually works. But as I said in my pitch, there are thousands of chefs and instructors and coaches and pastors of all kinds that have the exact same need. You just need to get the spaces in front of them.
Cage fighters too.
Yeah, cage fighters. Yeah,
I'm stuck on that now, sorry.
Justin, thanks so much.
Thank you.
Phenomenal job.
Pleasure.
All right.
Don't hurt me.